From the newsroom of the Bryan College Station Eagle, this is the Brazos Sports Prepscast. And now, the Eagle High School sports team, Alex Miller and Jake Weiss.
What's going on, everyone? You're listening to the Brazos Sports Prepscast. I'm Alex Miller with the Eagle, joined by the Eagles High School sports reporter, Jake Weiss. Jake, it's week one of the Texas high school football season. How we feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling energized. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, we're back, another season. There's some contenders. There's some teams with new coaches. There's a lot of storylines around the Brazos Valley. This is going to be your first high school football season with us. What's really getting you going right now?
Yeah, just been great to meet everyone. I think our media days we had a couple weeks ago was kind of a sample. It was an appetizer, if you will, and now we're getting on to the main course. So I'm excited. It was fun to meet everyone, interact with the players, coaches. I'm just excited to get started.
Yeah, our high school football season preview section, of course, coming out in Wednesday's paper of the Eagle. So be sure to check that in print or at theeagle.com as well. We got a big show today. We got Matt Stepp of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. He's going to join us here in the second segment of the show. So stay tuned. Matt previewing what's coming up for the Brazos Valley this season. But before we get there, we could talk you and me. Yeah. We got a full slate of games starting Thursday all the way through Saturday. It's going to be a jam-packed week here in Bryan College Station and around the Brazos Valley. For now, we'll stick with our local teams and just see where they're starting out. So kicking off the season is going to be the St. Joseph Eagles. They're taking on Bastrop Tribe in the Allen Academy Showcase Thursday night at 7:30. Jake, you wrote the season preview on the Eagles. What's kind of maybe one key storyline going into the season for them?
Yeah, so I talked with coaches and players, obviously. Coach Castilleja, his big message to me, I asked every coach when I was there at Media Days, just, hey, is there any games on the schedule you've got circled? He didn't sugarcoat it. He said, hey, week 3 and week 4, we've got Allen Academy week 3. Week 4, we've got Baytown Christian. Both of those are big games. And you're probably wondering, like, hey, it's week 1. Why are we talking about week 3 and 4? But it's interesting. So when I talked to us players, I kind of asked the same question. Hey, what are some games you guys are interested in? And, they brought up week 3 and 4. Hey, those are big games. But the interesting thing was the players did bring up week 1. And they said, hey, I don't know where they got these numbers, but they said, hey, they were kind of blunt. They were pretty blunt with it. They just said, hey, we're predicted to lose this game. So we want to go out there. We want to put up a good fight. We want to tell the people that have predicted us that we're going to lose this game. Hey, we're going to come out and put on a show and, hopefully win. And that was something I thought was really interesting. They've got a kind of a tough slate there at the beginning.
Right.
Week 1, and then, like I said, Coach talked about week 3 and 4. But for me, that's something I'm really interested in to see is how they can handle, early on. It's early in the season, but they kind of really got to hit the ground running and just, go from there. It's not going to be easy for them, and they know that. So it's going to be interesting if they just hit the ground running and go on or, what's going to happen there.
Right. And then, moving into Friday, we start getting into our big schools. A&M Consolidated, they're hosting Huntsville to start the season. They've been district mates for several years now. Consol moving up to Division I, Huntsville staying down in Division II. This was expected to be a really good game last year before Consol just ran right through the Hornets. Consol, a very talented team coming into the season. They've got high expectations over there in Tigerland.
Yeah, I talked with Coach Fedora this weekend after their scrimmage. They had their last scrimmage against Bryan. And you and I were at the first one as well. So they had 2 scrimmages. We were at the first one. This week was the last one. And, we kind of saw this a little bit at our scrimmage, the first one we went to. And he talked about it a lot. I think for them, the big storyline going into week 1, and Coach talked about this, was just staying healthy. You and me saw that a little bit at the scrimmage. Some of the starters, would come out, maybe get taped up, things like that. Nothing serious, of course, just small things. And that was kind of Coach's message when I asked him, hey, what are you kind of guys hoping to work on, going into your week 1 game against Huntsville? It wasn't, hey, we got to work on the play calling, or, hey, too many penalties in the scrimmage, nothing that he's going to make the guys run laps about. But really for him, the message was just, hey, we've just got to stay healthy. And, for me, that's kind of the big thing. I'll actually be at that game on Friday here at the Eagle, or for the Eagle. And I'll be kind of scanning the sidelines to start seeing who's dressed and all that. And like I said, he said it was all just small things, nothing major, of course. On the injury side, just a couple small nicks and bruises here and there. But it'll be interesting to see in that game, throughout the game, kind of who's going in, if guys are staying healthy, that sort of thing.
Brian starts the Ricky Tullis era on Friday at home against Waller. Brian, they're a team that they've got some good pieces. Yeah. It's just a matter of can they put them together and come together at the right time. Brian, there's some big upswing over there for the Vikings.
Yeah, they're all excited about it. I talked with the players at media days, and they're all excited. They said Coach Tullis has been real hands-on. I kind of want to go out to see practice if he's, getting involved in the drills. Because I know their center, Austin Pennington, said he's a real hands-on guy. So I kind of want to see what that means. I might have to call him up and say, hey, can I come by and practice, Coach? Because I would like to see that. But, players are super excited. They all talk about it being a new era, new jerseys, new mentality, new plays. So really for them, it'll be a lot of new. The other thing on the player side that I'm real interested to see, and I know you talked about this with Coach in your interview, the video interview you guys did, was just having Malcolm Goodenback, their quarterback. I know he didn't get to play at all. Well, he got injured in the first game of the season last year. I'm really interested to see what it's like for him coming back his senior year. They scrimmaged last Friday. I believe they were one of the only schools that had only one scrimmage. Is that right?
Yeah, them in College Station, yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know when I talked with Coach earlier, he just talked about it being their first scrimmage. There was a couple things to fix there, so I just wanted to make sure I had that right. I thought they were one of the only schools that won. So Malcolm's taking snaps, obviously, but I'm interested to see what it's like having him back at quarterback for senior year, just kind of what he can do in this first game. What's he look like? Really just how the whole team looks like. But, yeah, I'm just excited to see what they look like.
Yeah, the Eagles' Robert Cessna will be covering that game for us. Twitterless cease, so be sure to check Brazos Sports and theeagle.com for coverage. Rudder, they're starting on the road against Willis Friday night. Willis, they're a really good team. They've got a really good quarterback prospect, DJ Lagway. He's getting interest from a number of schools, including Texas A&M, going to be a junior quarterback this season. Saw him last year against A&M Consolidated. I mean, he is a big dude that can run the ball. He can pass it well. And Rudder, I mean, the story is, can they keep it going? Yeah. They finally broke through last season with a very special, remarkable year. And they've got some good pieces back, especially on offense. The skill position is strong for the Rangers. I'm curious how they're going to use that quarterback position. Xavier Ramirez, he's going to be their starting quarterback. But how do they use guys like Jaquise Martin? He's just kind of a do-it-all player. And how's that defense come together? They lost some really big pieces on that defense from last year, which was a huge reason why they made the playoffs. They've got a guy like Jaden Williams that's coming back, a defensive tackle. But how's that front seven kind of coming together around him? So that's something I've got my eye on for the Rangers. Travis Brown from the Eagle, he'll be out in Willis on Friday night, the home of my aunt and uncle. So,
nice.
Looking down the line, Brazos Christian, they've got a great game to start the season against Cypress Christian down at the private school ranks in 11-man taps. That's a really good matchup for them. Cypress Christian, they were really, really good last year, and so is Brazos Christian. And so that's a great non-district game to start out with for the Eagles. Coach Washington, of course, he's making his debut as Brazos Christian's head coach. And, they've got some guys that they've got to fill some shoes. That was a very senior-heavy class from last year for the Eagles. But, they've got some young talent. Ryan Burton, he's a do-it-all player. We talk about do-it-all players, Jaquise Martin. Ryan Burton, he's that guy for Brazos Christian. And so you got guys like Jackson Caffey, and the list goes on of, they're trying to step into these roles where these seniors had kind of been there the last 2-3 years as starters now, of course, off to college. But, curious to see what kind of fight they can put up against Cypress Christian and start out the season with a statement win. We got one local game this week. Allen Academy, they're hosting BV okay?
Yeah.
And, Allen Academy, they had a young team last year. They kind of were up and down, but this year, they're trying to get back to the standard that they like to have. They made it back-to-back years to the state championship game down in the 6-man ranks, and BV Chia, they're a team that they're going to play good hard football, and they have high aspirations as well. So if you like 6-man football, you should get out to Allen Academy Baker Field on Friday night, because that'll be a good game, and Thursday night too. I mean,
Yeah.
St. Joe's Bastrop Tribe, the Allen Showcase that they put on, that's a cool event. It's just a good way for 6-man teams to kick off the season and come together. So neat deal what Coach Adams and the guys over there at Allen Academy put on. So that's a good deal. Maybe the biggest game of the week, we'll save it for last.
Yeah.
College Station, they're playing Lucas Lovejoy in a non-district top 5 game in the 5A level of the Tom Landry Classic at Allen's Eagles Stadium. This is going to be a dogfight, and this is a stiff test to start the season for the Cougars. Jake, I know you got to catch up with Coach Pryor, Stoney Pryor, over at College Station after their scrimmage against Pearland. What do you have to say?
Yeah, similar. It's gonna be a new era for him, so it's gonna be exciting. I'm excited to see that one, and you'll be at that
Right.
one. So yeah, y'all make sure y'all follow Alex for coverage of that one on Saturday. Wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
got
I'm
that plug in
slacking.
there.
I'm not even starting my season till Saturday.
But no, Coach Pryor was excited. It was kind of funny. The scrimmage was actually supposed to be on Thursday because of weather, lightning, rain. Got moved to Friday. So only the varsity got to take part in it on Friday. But he felt pretty good about it. Really, the only thing that he was kind of worried about was, not really even really worried about. The thing that he really wanted them to work on was that just building that brotherhood, coming together. He said he saw it a little bit on the defensive side, guys kind of slapping each other on the helmet after good plays, things like that. But really for him, that's his biggest thing right now, is just working on building that. And then he said too, penalty-wise, they were a little sloppy. He wants to clean that up before the first game, but he was pretty confident they can do that.
A little running can go a long way
Yeah,
after practice.
A couple stadium steps, I think, and they'll get it fixed.
Yeah, Lucas Lovejoy, though, I mean, man, they're the real deal. That's going to be a good game for the Cougars to start the season. Curious how it shakes out for them. They had a run to the state championship game last year, lost a ton, but they bring back a lot of good talent too. So curious to see how the Cougars put it all together on Saturday night. So, I think we covered our bases, Jake. Let's get into the next segment. Let's hear from our friend Matt Stepp. So without further ado, here's Matt Stepp of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. What's going on, everyone? You're listening to the Brazos Sports Prepscast. I'm Alex Miller with the Eagle. Joining us now is Matt Stepp, good friend of the show from Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Matt, it's good to hear from you. It means the season is right around the corner.
Appreciate you having me on. Yeah, it means football is near, and it's time. I mean, we're all about to be really busy, but I don't. We get in this business to be busy. We don't like. The summers are nice to get your break, but kind of towards the end of the break, you're ready to get back to work and get rolling again. So, I mean, I know I'm fired up, and I'm sure you guys are as well with all the great football that you guys have down there in the Brazos Valley.
For sure. I just finished my last season preview, so I'm pretty happy about that right before we got on to do this. So, kind of just getting it started, what kind of excites you about this season in particular as we gear up for another year of high school football here in Texas?
To me, it's the same thing that excites me every year. Number one, I mean, I just love – there's just something about pulling up to a stadium on a Friday night and the lights and the bands, and you just get that kind of antsy feeling. Even though we're not playing, I mean, we're if we did play, our playing days are long gone. So, but you kind of get that feeling again, just that excitement and that buzz about the game. And I love to see, a lot of times, especially recently in Texas high school football, you've had a lot of the usual suspects that have been kind of in the mix playing for state championships and making deep playoff runs. But I love to see every year there's always a few surprise teams that pop up and make deep playoff runs and surprise us and take us on a great journey in December. College Station, I think, was one last year. We all thought they'd be good. I don't know if there weren't that many people early in the year, but in the preseason who had them playing for state championships. So there's always teams like that every year that pop up. And so finding out who those teams are, I think, is a lot of fun and one of the best parts. There's always, Texas high school football is there's a story all the time. There's always something going on, and there's no shortage of storylines. And I'm just ready to get it rolling.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned it, but pretty successful year for Brazos Valley schools last year. Franklin, of course, winning their first state championship. We'll talk about them in a little bit. College Station, state runner-up, and maybe one of the games of the season against Peyto there in that 5A1 championship. But there's been a lot of coaching changes down here over the offseason, and particularly, most notably, probably at Bryan High School and College Station, of course, with Steve Huff going to Decatur. What'd you kind of make of Bryan's hire of Ricky Tullis and College Station's promotion of Stoney Pryor?
First off, I'll start with the 6A school in Bryan. I think they made a great hire on Ricky Tullis. Obviously, Ross Rogers, his resume and the legacy that he's left in that part of the state is unmatched. I mean, obviously, what he did at A&M Consolidated back in the day, turning them into a powerhouse, and then he went to Killeen and got some programs started there in Killeen, and then I thought he did a very good job at Bryan. Bryan, once they moved back into the Central Texas district, was very competitive in the playoff mix year in and year out. So I think hiring a guy like Coach Tullis, who has a state championship on his resume and has been at good programs, is a great move by Bryan ISD, and I think Coach Tullis is going to do a good job. Now, Bryan's in a tough district. 12-6A, top to bottom, is a very balanced district,
right? And
the Vikings could finish as high as they could easily finish second place, and they could easily finish in seventh place, and that district's that evenly matched. So I don't know if you can measure the success totally by wins or losses, but I think he'll get that program on solid ground and keep Bryan in the mix, I think. And then for College Station, it was a no-brainer hire. They kind of said it was going to be an internal hire from the beginning, and why not? The success they've had, it would have been, to my opinion, crazy to go outside. And so I think to promote from within was the right move there for College Station High. And I think Coach Pryor, obviously the bar is high and the standards are set, and I think he's going to keep College Station in the mix.
Yeah, Dave Campbell's in Preseason Magazine has the Cougars number 4, crosstown rival A&M Consolidated number 7 in the 5A1 rankings. I mean, how far can the likes of both of those teams in particular go this season potentially?
I think both teams are regional contenders for sure. It would, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they meet in the regional finals. That's not pie in the sky type thing. I think there's a chance of that. But Region 3 is tough. There's a lot of good teams starting in your own district. With Cedar Park and Georgetown right there, and then you look over in the District 12. You have Smithson Valley. It's kind of Smithson Valley, a San Antonio area team, has been a very good 6A program. Dropping down into 5A. San Antonio Wagner, their last 2 years, they were a 5A program. They went to the state semifinals. So they're going to be a contender as well. And you look over in District 9, obviously you've got Manville and some of the teams in the Houston area that are always tough. And I think Angleton is a real sleeper there in District 9 that can make some noise as well. So is it like – I wouldn't say it's a coin flip that Consol and College Station High play again, but I put it at a 15 to 20% chance that they meet in the regional finals. I'll say this: I think there will be at least one Brazos Valley team in a regional final in Region 3 for sure.
Yeah, what do you make of College Station's season opener against Lucas Lovejoy? That's a tough matchup up in Allen to start the season.
Yeah, it's a long road trip. Lovejoy used to be a part of Allen ISD, and then they split off into their own school district. So it's not quite a home game for Lovejoy, but it's 10 minutes down the road, where College Station's traveling, 3.5 hours, to the northern part of the Metroplex. So it's a tough road trip. Lovejoy has been a regional finalist now, I think, the last 2 years, losing to the eventual state champion both years, Aledo in 2020 and then South Oak Cliff last year. And they're loaded at, they've got two current Division I commits at wide receiver. They've one to LSU, one to SMU. They've got another one who's got a ton of offers, and they've got a sophomore kid who's got a ton of offers as well. They're loaded. I mean, they're going to be a tough matchup for a College Station team that's breaking in a lot of new faces and a new head coach for the first time. So I don't want to say the deck is stacked against College Station in this opener against Lovejoy, but they're going to have their hands full for sure. It's going to be an uphill battle.
Well, College Station A&M Consolidated, they're playing October 28th. That's certainly a game we've got circled down here. I'm sure you guys will be paying attention to that one too. Looking at Brian Rutter, fourth local team to mention, what do you make of their district? Consol's leaving, they're bringing in Brenham, and what do you think they have to go through to try and make it back to the playoffs? Had a breakthrough season last year.
Yeah, I think Coach Izar has done a heck of a job there at Rutter, getting that program pointed in the right direction. Their first ever playoff appearance last year. They were right there in the mix in the first round of the playoffs. They could have easily won a playoff game last year. So it's a tough district, a balanced district. District 10, I think it's District 9 or 10.
10, yeah.
2. Yeah, it's a very balanced district. Montgomery was kind of the team last year that made the great run and went undefeated in the regular season, but they lost a lot. They graduated pretty heavy. I think Huntsville is right now on paper to me the team to beat in this district, but it's a very balanced district and much like District 12, I could see Rutter finishing near the top of the district standings and they could finish 5th or 6th. The margins are very slim in this district. Every game is going to be important. You guys might want to brush up on your district tiebreakers because there could be some three-way ties in this district. Every game is going to be big, but I think Rutter's got a great shot to make it back-to-back playoff appearances. But one slip-up could knock you out of it real quick. It's a balanced district.
Yeah, Coach Izard, talking to him in the preseason, he was very adamant. They could compete for a title, they could miss the playoffs. So I'm right there with you. When you look at some of the area teams, you got to start with Franklin when you're talking about Brazos Valley area teams. How special was that run last year, and just like what Franklin's coming off of finally winning that state championship?
Yeah, they've got it rolling there. Playing first state title in 2020, and then last year breaking through and winning that state championship. And I think even though they're moving up to Division I, I think they're going to be right there in the mix again. We've got them, I think, as the number one team, or number 1 or number 2 team in 3A Division I in the preseason magazine. They're right there. I mean, they're right there, top 3, top 4 team. The district and the region is really tough. The difference now for Franklin being in Division I and then being in Region 3 is the gauntlet they're going to have to run week in and week out. In Division II, there were games where Franklin was just so dominant. Their starters were out of their second quarter in a lot of these games. They're going to have, that now is where the depth, do they have the depth to keep it up week in and week out and go through that grind? Because they're in the toughest district in 3A Division I. That district is loaded. You've got Lorena. I think Little River Academy is going to be a tremendous ball club, bringing back 17 starters from 11-2 ball club. Cameron Yo and Rockdale are always in the mix. Troy is tough. It's a really, really good district. Then if you get out of district, Region 3 in 3A Division I is challenging as well when you have a team like Diboll, who went to the regional final last year. They bring back 15 starters. Woodville is always tough. East Chambers is always tough. I mean, it's a gauntlet and a grind. So if Franklin's going to get it done this year, they're going to earn it because the path is a lot tougher and there's a lot more landmines on that road.
Right. I think Franklin's actually playing Diboll in a non-district game early in the season, so that'll be a good measuring stick test. That game against Lorena, of course, I think that's at Lorena somewhere in the middle of October. That's probably got to be one of the better small school games that we'll see in the regular season this year.
For sure. I think Lorena, they've got a lot of questions to answer as well. So the Bumblebees from Little River Academy are kind of flying under the radar. My personal picks, I think Little River Academy, I think Lorena could finish third in this district. I think that the district is that tough with outstanding teams.
Well, when you look around the rest of the Brazos Valley, who are maybe some other teams that you've got your eye on to maybe rise up and make a deep run this season?
I think they're in your coverage area. I like Burton a lot this year.
Right.
I think Burton has a chance to actually, in my personal picks, I have Burton playing for a state championship. I think Mart in Region 3, who's all in 2A Division II, they've been the big bad wolf, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I think Falls City took them out last year. I think Burton is poised to do the same this year. I think Burton on paper has a chance to be a really, really outstanding team and could make it all the way to AT&T Stadium. I'm interested in Brenham. The last couple of years in Region 4, I felt like they've underachieved. I think, they were going in the Austin area, and now they're kind of going back east into a more Houston local district, so to speak. So I'll be interested to see if the Cubs can kind of establish their footing, because, it used to be Brenham, you could pencil them in playing on Thanksgiving weekend just about every year. So I'll be interested to see if they can kind of reestablish things under a new head coach as well there, with Danny Young is coming over from Brazos.
Yeah, Burton kind of getting a budding rivalry with Falls City in those later round playoff games. Met in that region final last year. So yeah, that's definitely a team we've got our eye on for sure. Well, Matt, before we let you go, I know you're a foodie. So when you're down here at like State 7-on-7, or maybe you're passing through, going down to the Houston area, what's a place you've got to stop at here in Bryan College Station?
So I've got my staples, and a lot of them are in downtown Bryan. We went to a place this year for 7-on-7 in downtown Bryan, a Mexican restaurant, and I can't think of the name of it now. Mallory Hartley found it, and it was very good. There's actually a place that I haven't tried that I heard is really good. It's called Juanita's, I think. It's in the new development.
Century Square.
It's in Century Square. I've heard it was really good, and I need to check that out. So I've heard that was pretty strong. But you got your staples for sure in the Bryan College Station area that I always hit. I like going to Kobe Bridge for a burger. Hullabaloo's got great breakfast. So those are kind of my staples. But I need to get over to Juanita's and check that out, because I've heard it's good stuff for the Mexican food.
For sure. Well, Matt, thanks for joining us. How can folks find your work on Twitter and online? Keep up with you throughout the season.
So all my work's at texasfootball.com, obviously on the web. You can follow me personally on Twitter at Matt with 2 T's _step with 2 P's 817. Mostly Texas high school football. You may have to fight through some food tweets and some Orioles tweets, and even some soccer tweets occasionally when the U.S. men's national team is playing. But for the most part, it's Texas high school football.
Hey, the Orioles going to get a wild card spot this year?
I hope so. I would love it. They've exceeded my expectations so far that I don't want to get my hopes up and then be disappointed, because they've been so good this year. And this season's already a success no matter what happens. But they're kind of reeling me in as far as getting me really into it for the playoffs. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. I think we're the story of the year in baseball, though.
Yeah, I got to respect that you stick with the Orioles through all those tough years. So for your sake, I hope they make it. So
let me tell you, there's been some lean years the past few years, some real lean years. So hopefully my loyalty get rewarded here soon.
For sure. Well, guys, thanks for tuning into this week's episode of the Brazos Sports Prepscast. Thanks for Matt Stepp for taking a few minutes to preview the season with us. Be sure to check theeagle.com for all of our preseason coverage heading into the season. We'll see you next week.